And welcome to the We're Doing It Wrong podcast, brought to you by Joseph Pizar and David Michael Slater. Before we get to today's content, we have a few exciting announcements. First, this weekend, March 24th, Saturday, there's the national and really international March for Our Lives. We'll be live streaming portions of the event in DC on our Facebook page, so be sure to connect with us there. And then find a local march if you're so inclined. Secondly, David Michael Slater's latest book, We're Doing It Wrong, 25 Ideas in Education That Just Don't Work and How to Fix Them. They have a special book launch event at the Reno Barnes & Noble. So if you're in the Reno area, we encourage you to attend. It's going to be an interactive session. It's April 28th, beginning at 10 a.m. Seating is limited, but tickets are free. You can get your ticket for free at the top of our website. Again, we'redoingitrong.com. We encourage you to come. And it's for anyone in the community who's interested in public education. Should be a great time. So for today's content, we bring you STEM is Not Enough. And this was written by Susan Ellenberg. She's the president of the San Jose Unified School District Board of Trustees. And then after we turn her post into audio, you'll get some commentary from yours truly, Joseph Pizar. She writes, "No one takes a good idea and drives it beyond the nth degree better than education professionals." And I'm referring not to the classroom teachers who constantly do their level best to implement whatever new theory has been determined to be the latest magic bullet or boost academic achievement, but to the theorists, businesses, technologists, and ideologists who devise those bullets. It has been noted that over several decades, U.S. students have fallen behind their international peers in the areas of math and hard sciences. Putting aside the reliability of the various methods of measuring these levels and considering who is being measured in each country, there nonetheless is cause to boost education efforts in those realms. And so was born STEM education. Undoubtedly, a worthwhile attempt to boost competencies in science, technology, engineering, and math disciplines in our increasingly digital era. But there are only so many hours in a school day, and don't get me started on that. So something had to give. While emphasis on STEM and career preparedness has skyrocketed, the focus on civic education has been significantly, and in my view, dangerously diminished. Students still take courses that focus on the U.S. government, most notably in 5th, 11th, and 12th grades. But those courses tend to teach only about how the federal government works and provide little, if any, real-world learning about the process and importance of civic engagement. From the responsibility of voting and understanding how government works at every level, to the ability to discern the source and bias of information that is read, seen, or heard, and to internalize the importance of empathy and civil discourse when we engage with those who hold views that differ from our own. Students need hard skills to compete for employment opportunities, but what they need even more are the ability to problem solve, think critically and creatively, communicate effectively, and feel an obligation to work toward a greater common good. The fundamental question for me is whether the purpose of public education is to prepare students for specific jobs that may or may not even exist by the time students enter the workforce, or for a world that is constantly evolving and requires meaningful engagement by informed citizens to guide us in directions that reduce economic disparity, increase compassion and empathy, and emphasize reliance on data rather than incendiary opinion masquerading as fact. The experience of the 2016 election, not just the result, but the accompanying lack of meaningful conversation and factual accountability, as well as the very low voter turnout and lack of understanding of the implications of not voting, should galvanize a shift, but not to the nth degree, in public education back towards an emphasis on civic education and engagement. Our future depends on this. So thank you, Susan Ellenberg, for that wonderful piece. We always provide a disclaimer that the pieces we publish on our website don't necessarily represent the views of your We're Doing It Wrong curators, but on this one, I will tell you I wholeheartedly embrace her view on this issue. I do believe that STEM education is so important, but there is a limited amount of time in our day, and civic education has to weight higher than it currently does. But I can't help and notice what's going on currently with student walkouts, international marches, and other events being ostensibly led by students. And I think we can confidently say that students are leading these efforts. Although there are national organizations supporting them, they are at the forefront, leading this movement. And while there certainly are student voices that might be at odds with the prevailing message seems to be reasonable to me. So I certainly have a personal bias in that I view the legislative actions that the students are proposing to be very valid and absolutely common sense. But I respect the fact that not everybody agrees with me. And so here's the case I'd like to make to you. If you're a listener who, let's say, disagrees with the prevailing message of the March for Our Lives movement, I believe you can still feel and ought to feel pride and thankfulness that students are engaging to this level. So your ability to appreciate and my ability to appreciate student civic engagement on these issues is independent of my agreement with them on the issues. Now, it just so happens I do agree with them, so it makes it much easier for me to feel that way. But if you disagree, I would ask you, what would we rather have our students do? Sure, they need to be in school, attending school, learning as much as they possibly can, but we want them to engage civically. This is one way that looks. This is one way that civic engagement manifests itself. And it may appear extreme to some of our listeners, but think about the extremities that they're responding to. The Parkland school shooting, the code red drills our students have grown up in. They literally have grown up in a code red reality. I venture a guess that there are very few students in the United States who don't know what a code red drill is, who don't know what it's like to lie quietly on the floor of a darkened room while a teacher covers the window and locks the door as they await the drill to be over. And now too many of our students actually know what the real thing feels like. So this generation, having grown up in that environment, are now reacting, and they're civically engaged in a meaningful way. I, as an adult, am flying to Washington, D.C. to partake in a march that was started by high school students. And to me, that is one of the coolest things about our country. It's certainly not something I will ever criticize students for. And I encourage you to consider how you support them, even if you don't support their message. Well, we appreciate your support very much. And again, we can be reached at we'redoingitwrong.com. That's where you can get all the latest news and updates. And we encourage you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and then join us if you're in the Reno-Sparks area or happen to be traveling through at David Michael Slater's book launch. That should be a great event. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.